Welcome to this second webinar that I'm doing for 2013. And this one, it's all about ebook creation. I'm calling it eBook Creation 101. And a little self-promotion here. I'm running a new website and a new business right now called thecoachingacademy.com or coachingacademy.us, sorry. Not used to the US yet. But let's go ahead and get started. And I'll tell you about the genesis of how we all got started here. A couple weeks ago, I was on a webinar where we can't hear anything. I had this problem last week too, where the phone just stopped working. Can you hear me now? So Margaret can hear me, Jerry can hear me, George can hear me, Mike can hear me. So Jerome can't hear me. Mitch can hear me. Well, I don't know what to tell you, Jerome. Obviously, I can't tell you anything right now because you can't hear me. Let me just pause 1 second here. Yeah, James can hear me. Yeah, if you click on the volume box and click the little drop-down box and choose the microphone. Oh, Jerome said he already did that. Okay, well, Jerome, okay, so we're going to just get started. I don't really know how to cancel Jerome. So I'm hoping that there's going to be a replay here sometime later tonight, and we'll get it out to him. And if this doesn't work, I'll just do it again, and I'll send it out to y'all again. So it's cool, man. Cool, Jerome. Thank you. All right. So I got started on this topic a couple of weeks ago when I was watching a webinar given by some, pretty prominent internet marketers, and they were making it sound really hard to create an ebook. And I thought to myself, well, it's not really that hard, but maybe it's because I've been doing this for, a few years now, and I have a process, and I have a plan, and I have, established procedures and whatnot, and I've been doing it so long I could probably do it in my sleep. So I went through and reviewed what I did, and I basically came back with 3 simple steps. And really, if you look at the middle of the page, right in here, you can see that it's really just research it, write it, and publish it. But before we get into that, let's talk about why you should even write an ebook, right? So I got into writing ebooks for one primary reason, and that was to use as a giveaway on a squeeze page, or to make a WSO on how to do something, whether it's how to tech-wise or how to marketing-wise. So I was really doing that to build a list, or get a little bit of prominence on the Warrior Forum. That's really why I started writing ebooks. And if you go back even a little bit further, I got interested in writing ebooks because I was in the fitness niche, and I wanted to write an ebook on how to, build muscle. And it was difficult back then. This was like 2006 or 2007. The tools weren't quite the same they are now. Everything cost a lot more money, and they were, you had to, PDFs weren't as prevalent, so when you wrote an ebook, you had to make a .exe, and that didn't play on Mac, and blah, blah, blah. Everything's a lot different now, and a lot of people who may have been trying to do trying to write ebooks back then, maybe you got discouraged and quit and thought it was just too hard. Well, I'm here to tell you that it's not that hard, and we're going to show you how to do it today. So I got into it to build a list, but also nowadays it's really good for establishing authority. Um, you obviously look like you know what you're doing if you can communicate intelligently through the written word. And they're pretty easy to sell, especially if your sales price is zero and you're doing it as a giveaway. But there's pros and cons to giving stuff away nowadays. The perceived value of something free is, it's not worth anything. But it also will help. It will help you build your list. And if you groom your list right and give them good information, then it'll turn into something better. So let's establish something right away. There are three main steps, and within each of those steps there are some mini steps, and I liken it to riding a bike. You don't just get on a bike and ride it. There's several things you have to do, like pedal and hold onto the handlebars and stuff like that. So I'm going to show you a process today that actually uses a free tool, and it's pretty cool. So let's get right into it. So the first part of ebook creation is to research it. And there are really four mini steps in here. And you've got to figure out what is your niche, right? What do you want to write about? And more importantly, or maybe just as importantly, is what you're going to write about something that's sellable or something that resonates with other people so that they actually want to read it, right? So the first thing you have to do is establish what is your niche. What are you going to be writing about? And the way I arrive at that conclusion is I find out what people want. Just like I did with this webinar today, I went out on Facebook and in my email list in Aweber and asked people, what do you want to see? What's bugging you? What's got you stumped right now, or where can you use some help? And this was one of the things that came up. So that's asking your tribe, right? Or going to Facebook, or Google Plus is a really good place now, especially if your niche is technology focused or technology centered, because a lot of technical people, people in the IT world and the social media world and whatnot, they're there. They're at Google Plus. But also you can go to forums, like I've mentioned the Warrior Forum a couple times now. If you go there and you ask the question, what are you having difficulty with right now? Basically what I do is I like to couch all of this in terms of, finding the one problem that people want to solve and then giving them a simple, straightforward answer. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy to implement, but it's going to be easy to understand. All right, so you can go to forums like the Warrior Forum. If you're in a different niche altogether outside of IM, internet marketing, you could go to, whatever forums are, popular and prevalent for your niche. Like if it's knitting, I'm sure there are knitting forums out there. There are forums out there on how to write Kindle ebooks. There are forums out there for bodybuilding, forums out there for weight loss, forums out there for, PLR, forums out there for motorcycles, choppers, you name it, there's a forum out there, and there's probably more than one. And you can go there and just ask the question. And sometimes you don't even have to ask the question. You just see the questions being asked. And then, if that question is asked often enough, you have something there that you can write, a nice little ebook for. So Yahoo Answers is a good place too. You can find a lot of really good questions there, and oftentimes the answers aren't very good. And if you can supply some good answers there with a follow-up, in a link that says, hey, go check out my ebook, it tells you more about, your question, and it expands upon my answer. All right, so find out what people want, right? And then you go see what is available in this niche or in this industry. And again, it's some of the same places, right? You can go to forums and find out what people are promoting there. Like if you go to the Warrior Forum, you're going to see in the Warrior Special Offers subforum, there are many, 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 many products there that people, marketers are trying to sell or give away. and they cover the gamut. And one thing that you'll notice if you've been in the internet marketing world for more than a few months, maybe even more than just a few minutes, you'll find that there are kind of trends or herd mentality in that you'll see a given topic show up in your email box from all sorts of different marketers, and it's not marketing the same product, but it's marketing the same or similar solution. I'm not sure that's a great idea, and I'm not sure if that just happens because of the cosmos and how we're all interconnected, or I'm not sure if all the prominent internet marketers get together and say, hey, what are we going to sell this week? I don't know. But you can definitely see that, I got, as an example, a few months ago, I got peppered with, 5 to 10 different products about Kindle, the Amazon bookstore, electronic bookstore. And it was, how to write a Kindle, how to format it, how, what tools to use, how to market it, how to drive traffic to it, how to get sales, marketing strategies and stuff like that. Oh, awesome, Jerome's on now. Cool. You can go to ClickBank. ClickBank is a very good place to go, especially for the non-internet marketing niche. You can find all sorts of weight loss products there, quit smoking products, how to run your car on water, which is, bogus, but it's still a product that will solve, rising gas price anxiety, I guess. You can go to Amazon and see what's being offered there, not only in the Kindle department, but in the bookstore, in the magazine section. Find out what's there, what's popular, what are other people supplying to people who have asked this question or exhibit this problem or want to solve this particular dilemma, right? You can, as I alluded to just a minute ago, you can go look at the email from other marketers. Here's a secret, or maybe it's not a secret, and I'm just dumb, and I think it's a secret, but sign up. Basically do 2 things. Sign up to people's email lists that you like, like, and trust, and you really dig their stuff. Like, for example, I like the Rapid Crush guys. Will Mattos and Jason Flatman. I like those guys. I like the products they put out. It's high quality stuff, and it's really good, and it's usually fairly priced, and it's just good stuff. And I like to get emails from those guys, not necessarily, but I like to watch how they market and how they communicate. But I also get to see, because I'm signed up to their list, I also get to see what what's coming. And I rest assured that if they're promoting it, they're probably at the front end of other people doing it. But do a second thing, and that is sign up to other marketers' lists to find out kind of what the trends are. What's the product of the day, or the solution of the week, or whatever. You'll start to see trends. You'll start to see that everybody's promoting something that solves a problem around X or Y or Z, right? So then that there's probably a market for that book, and if you put your unique touch on it and you sell it to the right people in the right place, you're going to have some success. Another good place is to go to Skype groups. There are Skype groups, in just about every niche, and you have to go seek those out. I don't have anything other than in the IM niche, and if you want that, you can email me after the meeting, and I'll give you some information about that. There's also a place for mostly internet marketing called JV Notify, and you can just Google that and find that. It's pretty easy to sign up, and you'll start getting a bunch of different notifications from different marketers that say, hey, I've got a product that does, that's going to launch on, Monday, and it's about this, and this is how much you can earn. Well, not necessarily do I want you to go down that path as an affiliate marketer, although you could and you should if you want, but you will get to see what other marketers think people are wanting right now. And, you know, I kind of play the contrarian once in a while, and I buck the herd, and I kind of go against the grain. And if everybody else in the world is offering it, I may not offer it right now. I may offer it in a month or two or 3 or 4, right? Um, but you know that if other marketers are marketing it or selling it, it's probably a good place to start your investigation. All right. And then you can go to Facebook groups, and they're really good, very interactive. Out of all the different groups I go to, besides forums, Facebook is probably the most active and gets you the most kind of engagement. All right. So the next thing you want to do is you want to collect that data. And a tool I use, which is mostly free, and I say mostly free because they have a paid version, but you don't need it for this exercise or even for this process at all. And it's called Evernote. And I was using Evernote as a free member for a year or two before I finally got a paid membership, because I store so much there and use so much, I actually ran out of space. But it took a long time. And what I like to use it for is they actually have a little Chrome extension that you install, and you can clip, quote unquote, different web pages that you want to go back to. Yeah, Jerome says Evernote is my best friend. It's pretty freaking awesome. I love that thing because you can store virtually anything there. And I use it as more of a bookmarking tool. You know, I want to go back and review this. And when I start to gather my research for something, I just throw everything in my Evernote, whatever my project name is, bucket or folder. And then I go back to it. And that's when I organize the data, right? You really need to organize the data before you start with your ebook. And the way I do that is I just simply outline it. And there's a couple different methods you can use. And I'm not going to show you how to do it, but this is kind of, I usually go one of 3 routes. Route number 1 is I, believe it or not, write it down on paper. I still am a big proponent of pen and paper. And that's a great way to outline stuff. But even better for me, at least it's more expedient, because I like to, I really like to leverage everything that I create into different products for different markets, so to speak. So for example, I don't know if you signed up through the WSO that I put up for this webinar, but if you did, you saw that at the very end of that little sales letter I put together, that I'm going to write an ebook in the next couple of weeks about this topic. And use that ebook in various ways. One of which will be I'll use it for my meetups. I have several local meetups that I'm the organizer for. I'll use that in a presentation format. I'll put it on video. I'll strip the audio out of this webinar and put it up on a podcast. So that just gives you a flavor. So that's method number 2. What I do is I go to PowerPoint and I create my outline there, and it's really pretty nifty. The third way is actually to use something like Microsoft Word or the tool I'm going to show you later, the free tool that I'm going to show you later that allows you to format your ebook in a pretty easy way and definitely free. Okay, so research your topic and get your thoughts organized and just write down. But basically, your outline is your chapter headings. Okay, we'll get into that in a minute. Everybody okay so far? Okay. All right, the second step in this ebook creation process is to actually write it. And like I said before, I've done this enough times that I can usually write the ebook on the first go and not have a lot of editing, and I don't do a lot of rough drafts. but I certainly encourage you to do whatever you need to do to get it out there, all right? And don't stop until you're ready. And by that I don't mean, do not go to perfection. I'm a big proponent of the 80-20 rule, and I do that with virtually everything I do. And that's not to say that I, endeavor to put out shoddy or partially done products, but perfection is very hard to achieve, and when you get to a certain percentage, it's, good enough is good enough, and get it out there, and you can actually update it later. That's very simple to do. It wasn't so simple when you had a printed book, right? And you can still write printed books very inexpensively through Amazon, their Create Space and a couple other places. But we're talking about an ebook, and all you have to do is go edit the ebook, republish it, upload it again, and you're done. And send out a note to people who have already bought it if you so desire, and tell them, hey, the update's here, go get it. It's free. There you go. All right, so the first thing I want you to do in the Write It step is, if you haven't already, go download and install an Office suite called LibreOffice. And it's an offshoot. I don't want that to sound the wrong way. It's awesome, but it kind of branched off of the old Sun Microsystem Open Office suite. That was a free competitor to Microsoft Office. Now you can certainly use Microsoft Office like 2010, the latest versions, to do what we're about to do. But not everybody has, hundreds of dollars to do that, and not everybody is, an educator or a college student. So this is a free tool that does, again, it does, about 80 to 90% of what Microsoft Office does, Microsoft Word especially. And, I'm a big, long-time user of Microsoft Word and Microsoft Office, and it does a lot of stuff, and most of the stuff I never even use. I don't get real fancy. Fancy gets in the way of productivity, and I'd rather have you get an ebook out there that's got good content and looks plain Jane versus something that looks whiz-bang awesome but is not very good. All right. So the second mini step in the Write It step is to go to your outline from step one, and those are your chapter headings. All right. And I'm going to show you this in a minute. I just want to go through this first. So you might want to take notes, because in a minute this screen is going to go away, and we're going to look at LibreOffice. So your chapter headings are done. Basically, I put a page break after each chapter heading, and I'm not worried about a table of contents yet, because you do that last. And then you write one sentence, kind of like an intro, for every single chapter. So underneath that chapter 1 heading, you're going to write one sentence that sums up the entire chapter. Basically, I go with the premise of, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, then I tell you, and then I tell you what I told you. Does that make sense? So you're really trying to drive home your content and your message. So write one sentence that sums up each chapter, and then expand on that sentence by breaking it down into, I put 3 to 5 paragraphs here, but it all depends on how much content you have. If you're writing an opus, a 50 to 100 page ebook, which I don't necessarily recommend against or for, it just takes a long time, is, you may need to write subchapters and sub-subchapters, and each chapter might be, 20 or 30 or even 50 paragraphs. And I like to write short paragraphs. So I typically, in a 15 to 20 page ebook, I write 3 to 5 paragraphs with 3 to 5 sentences in each. These are just guidelines. I mean, if it takes you more than 5 sentences to finish a paragraph, that's fine. Do it. If it takes you more than 5 paragraphs to finish a chapter, do it. Don't stop just because you're done with the numbers. Finish your thoughts and get them out there, and make sure they're complete, and make sure that people can follow along, and it all makes sense and it all flows. All right. Write your introduction and conclusion last, because your introduction really is just a summary of what you're going to tell people, and your conclusion is a summary of what you told them. and everything in the middle is what you just wrote. Does that make sense? Because I'm in the internet marketing business, and I have, products, ebooks, video courses, membership sites, how-to guides, and stuff like that I've already, put together, I always add a resource page to my ebook. And yes, those are links to my products. And if you want to go investigate them, you can. You can see the sales pages on which I've got the information there with the buy button or the order button that allows you to order whatever past product I've put out there. But it's good for you, maybe you don't have a resources page, maybe you don't have a bunch of products yet. Maybe you have one. Put that on the resources page. Put whatever tools you used to, arrive at your solution, or whatever other resources you used. It could be, like a bibliography as well. But I put that there on one of the last pages. And then add an about the author page. Now I've tried both, and I haven't come to a conclusion yet as to which one is more effective or which one I like better. But add an about the author page either to the front, like the second page in of your book, or the last page of your book. I've seen it done both ways. I've done it both ways. I would say that it's probably beneficial for you to put it at the front of the book if you're not, if you're new at this or you're not very well known in your niche and you want people to just understand that, hey, this is who I am, this is where I come from, this is why I know what I know, and this is why maybe you should take a look at what I have to offer here. But I mean, at that point, they've already bought your book, so it's a toss-up. But just make sure it's there. Add a copyright page, and that has your copyright and your disclaimer that says, you can't share this book without my permission, or you can share this book without my permission. It depends on what your objective is with that ebook. Lots of times I encourage people to share, and yeah, don't contact me. I'm giving you my permission right now to do that. And then at the very end, when you've got all that stuff done, and make sure you give that ebook the once over, maybe the twice over, maybe the three times over with a friend or even somebody from your family who can read it and say, well, you made a mistake here, grammar error here, spelling error here, whatever, it doesn't make sense here. Once you're done, then go in and insert the table of contents. And that's usually on like the second or third page. And also you can set the header and footer. That will tell people what page number they're on if they actually go and print out the book, which I don't think too many people print out books anymore, but it's still good to know what page you're on, because I'm a very impatient person, and if I'm trying to read a small ebook like 15 pages and I've been doing it for an hour and I'm only on page 3, I get frustrated. So, but if I notice that I'm on page 14, I know the home stretch is there and I'm almost done. So it's good to put page count and page number there. And it's also good to remind people who you are, So at the footer you could put your name, and then this is page 1 of 10 or 20 or whatever. And here's a really important thing that believe it or not, I think sells more ebooks than anything, especially if you're not an established person. And that's to add a custom cover. And that's one of those big giant, it covers the whole front page, big graphic. And while you can do it yourself, you can certainly go to Fiverr and buy a gig for $5, get a PNG, slap that thing across the front page of your LibreOffice document, and it looks killer. I would suggest that you get 2 versions of that cover. Version 1 is what we call a flat cover, and that's what you put on the book itself. And version 2 is a 3D cover, which is what you would use in your sales material or your squeeze page. It looks deeper and it looks nicer. It actually looks like a book that people are buying. It's a psychological thing, but people do buy based on appearance. And if if it's got a really killer cover, that leads people to want to see what's inside. Right. The next thing we do is we set the document properties, and that's kind of like a back-end thing in LibreOffice. Microsoft Word has it as well, where you basically set the author, you set the publisher, you can set the copyright and stuff like that. And then at the very end, you might want to have somebody else proof it again. I know, and I'm pretty good at proofing other people's work. I'm pretty good at proofing my own, but I still make mistakes. I still miss stuff when I'm doing my own. I'm much better at proofreading other people's stuff, and I think most people are that way. So if you have something that you need to get proofed, don't rely on yourself, especially after you've written this book and you've spent a lot of time. Sometimes you get a little anxious. Like I said, I'm an impatient person. I'll just skim through what I just wrote, and it doesn't make any sense. And you could probably see, you could probably find mistakes on this this mind map where I made a misspelling or something doesn't make sense or something. Mitch says he's an excellent proofreader. I will remember that, and I will hit you up. So cool. The next step after you've done all that, so you've got this. I'll call it a Word document, even though it's a LibreOffice document. But you've got this document, this word processing document. You don't want to sell it that way, and you don't want to upload it that way. What you want to do, because this is what will happen, or this is what can happen. If you sell it in that format, somebody else who gets a hold of that can easily open it up, change it, put their name on it, and then sell it as their own. And while that's obviously the wrong thing to do on their part, it does get done. Even doing, even converting this to a different format is subject to, plagiarism and copyright infringement and stuff like that. But this makes it a little bit harder. It also makes it, basically we're going to put this in a format that other people understand. But before we get to that, I shouldn't say that. Not that other people can understand, what other people expect. Before we get to that, we're going to open up LibreOffice, and I've already got a document open, but I just want to show you what I'm talking about in those steps. And I don't know if you can see this. Tell me if you can or cannot, please. It may be a little small. Yeah, I've got a couple yeses. Okay. Yes, it is small. Okay. Just do a couple things here to adjust. Yeah, I don't like that. Hold on. All right. Well, this is about as big as I can make it right now, but just suffice it to say, without losing, the look of what I'm trying to show you. Suffice it to say that this is the front page, and if you don't have a cover, this is where you need to put your title and your name, okay? However, this is where I'd, slap on that nice front cover that you either made yourself or went to Fiverr with or went to your designing, your graphic artist friend and got. That's where you would put this. So basically you would just, and I'm not going to go through this in too much depth, but you would go to insert and then picture and then from file, and then that would show up here. And you could actually stretch it out to fit the whole cover, right? Notice that I don't put headers or footers on the front page for two reasons. Number one, it doesn't look right with or without a cover. But number two, with a cover, you're not going to see it because the cover is going to overlay all of this stuff, okay? But I do put headers and footers on page 2 through the rest. So these are my chapters, and like I said, we do that last, well, near the end. We do the table of contents near the end. Where we would start is with chapter 1, and that's the first part of your head, the first part of your outline. And notice that when I click in here, it's formatted as heading 1. Yeah, George says he always has issues with splitting the header and footer on the first page, and so do I. And even though I've done this a million times, I always forget, and I always have to reteach myself. So I think I'm going to throw a little video together after this webinar to show you, to show others, and kind of serve as a memory aid. This is how you do it. All right, is that fair enough? So we have chapter 1, and here when we press return, we're just going to type whatever, right? Now chapter 2 might be a little bit longer, let's just say. So again, here's my heading 1, and right here is my heading 2. And it's important to do this because this assigning headings to your chapters and your subchapters will format or allow LibreOffice to easily and automatically format your table of contents. And I'll show you that in a minute. So we go through chapter 3, 4, whatever, however many chapters you have. Here's your summary or conclusion. You write that, near the end. Here's my resources page. Again, I would put links here to prior products. And I have a resources page that's kind of like a living document all on its own, so that after I write the next ebook, I add that on and save it, and then I use that resources page on my next book. So I don't have to always reinvent the wheel, which saves a lot of time because I'm not good at reinventing the wheel. Here's my about the author page. I would encourage you to put a picture here. People want to identify with you, and once they see you, it makes them know, like, and trust you a little bit easier. All right, so let's go back up to the top. And I'm going to delete the table of contents. All right. So notice that we have the introduction. We have all the chapter headings, and we have, like, chapter 1 is on page 5 of 12 in this example. Chapter 2 is on page 6, and it has some subsections or some heading 2s on it. Watch what happens with your table of contents. I like this. I think this is really cool. And this is really cool for 2 reasons. So you go up to Insert, and then Indexes and Tables, and then Indexes and Tables. Table of Contents, and then you just hit OK. And what it does is it puts in your heading 1s, and then it indents your heading 2s, and if you had heading 3s, it would indent those even farther. And the nice thing is it puts in your page numbers, and even better, I think, is each one of these is a hyperlink. So when you convert this to the other format, that hyperlink stays intact, so that when somebody clicks on this button right here in your finished ebook, they'll go right to the summary. Okay. Let me go back to the mind map and see if I missed anything. It's a copyright page, table of contents, set header and footer, custom cover. Oh, document properties. All right. So the document properties, so let's just, save this, and then go to File, and then Properties. And I haven't done this yet, so I don't know what's here. So this is kind of the general tab, but the description, you could put your title here, your subject here, keywords here, and comments here. That's cool. Custom properties are really cool. If you click Add, they've got some built-in drop boxes here. Like you could put your proofreader in here, checked by, right? And then put their name. And that all shows up in kind of the meta of the ebook, and that most of that carries over to the converted format. all right? But you can also put publisher, you could put your company, and you can add more than one, right? You could also add in something that's not here. And why it's not here, I don't know. Maybe they're using a synonym that I just don't see. I always put in author. So what I would do is this, and then publisher would be, my company. And then I hit OK. So now that's done, and make sure you save it again. And we're going to go back to the mind map, and we're going to show you the publish it piece. So we want to convert this into something that's easily readable by anybody with any kind of computer, whether it's a Mac, PC, Ubuntu, or Linux, or Android, or iPhone or iPad. Doesn't matter. They can all read PDFs. They can't all read, well, I shouldn't say they can all read PDFs. I would be surprised if all of those devices I just mentioned didn't have a PDF reader already installed. I'd be very surprised. However, I do know that the native format for LibreOffice is a .odt, and the native format for Microsoft Word is a .doc. Many devices don't come pre-installed with the software to read that. They don't come installed with Word or LibreOffice or whatever. So PDF is pretty universal, all right? Mitch asked a question about the more you optimize the doc properties, the more metadata for search engines. Yeah, that's kind of the school of thought. You want the search engines and other other aggregators, other websites to be able to pick up that data that isn't viewable necessarily by the human eye, but is viewable by a machine. So all that stuff counts. So if you put in keywords and stuff like that, especially if you upload this to like SlideShare or one of the other document sharing websites, they most likely can and will pick up that data. So it's good. Yeah, good question. So I convert this to PDF. And back when I was using Microsoft Word, and I've never upgraded from like 2003, because I don't need most of the functionality in the other ones, and I don't want to upgrade for no good reason. One of the things, actually two of the things that Word in earlier versions was lacking was the ability to convert to PDF and to keep those hyperlinks on the table of content intact. So you could get around one problem, but not with the other. This is what you do. You go back to LibreOffice, go back to the home. It doesn't matter where you start. You go to File, you go to Export as PDF. That looks like this. And you can set a number of different properties here. I usually keep the default, but you can set the initial view to be page only, or a thumbnail and page. So the thumbnail would be here, which would be like the whole page, and then the page could be bigger than the screen. You could make it a single page or continuous, whatever. There's a lot of things you could do there. Like I said, I keep all of the defaults. I don't set passwords or anything unless I'm really weird about it. But at this point, I'm confident. People have paid for the product. I use a couple different tools to basically secure and cloak my links so that you can't share it with somebody else, or you can, but it has to be within like 30 seconds or something like that. So that works pretty good. So I don't really set passwords. So that's all you do. You go to File, Export as PDF, click the Export button, and tell it where to go. So you can save it to your desktop, creating eBooks 101, Click Save. You can go to your desktop and see it right here. And this is what it looks like. It looks just like the book you wrote. And if you hover over the page numbers or anywhere on the table of contents, like the introduction, it says page number 4, which is right. If I click on that, I go to page 4. That's pretty cool. Now, it doesn't seem like a big deal until you've written and read enough of these things that it drives you nuts when the hyperlinks don't work. So just wanted to let you know that's how I do that, again, using the really free and cool tool. All right, so now what do we do? So we've got about 10 minutes left, and I think we can do this. So after you convert to PDF, I did leave out a mini step here, and that mini step is what I do is I always archive it or zip it up. I zip it into a .zip file. That usually makes it a little bit smaller, but it's a lot of web hosts like that better than storing a PDF. It's not that big of a deal, but I always just convert everything to PDF. And I use a nifty little tool called 7-Zip, and it's free. And essentially, all you have to do there is, I'll drag this over here. Drag this over here. And once you install 7-Zip, and again, it's free, right-click on the file you want to zip, choose 7-Zip, add to archive, and it does it for you. Click OK. It just goes back to the same location where your original file is, and now it's zipped up. So it's, let's see if it's considerably smaller. Not considerably smaller. This is 83 kilobytes, and this is, I think it's at 75. So it's not saving you a lot of space, but if you always put things in a zip format, I think it keeps your sanity too. And get into a process where stuff just works. So after you get it zipped up, you need to upload it to a web host or to some hosting facility, right? So if they're eBooks, you can always just upload them to your web host. You saw that one wasn't very big. It wasn't even a meg. It wasn't even a tenth of a meg. Now, even with a bunch of text in there and a few pictures, it won't be very big. So you could probably upload that to your host and not have any issues whatsoever. Because I do a lot of video and they take up a lot of space, I actually host my videos on Amazon S3, which is a very, very, very inexpensive hosting solution for files of that type, and it's supplied by Amazon. So you go to Amazon, get yourself an S3 account, and it's very inexpensive. And interestingly enough, I don't know if they're still doing this, but for the first year, if you were in a, basically they charge you for your use. So if people are downloading a lot of pictures and a lot of videos, that's a lot of use. If you're uploading a lot of stuff and holding a lot of stuff there, that's a lot of use. So there's a formula, but I'll tell you for the last year, because I've been doing this for a year now, and I've got a lot of videos and a lot of eBooks and stuff on Amazon S3. I've never, and I'm not saying this is going to happen for you, but I've never been charged for that first year. I got a notice in my email the other day that said, hey, we're going to start charging you because your first free year, your first, I forget what they called it, but it was your tier 1 pricing or whatever was going from free to not free. And I think it was going to be just dollars, not even hundreds of dollars, but just a few dollars a month. Not expensive at all. Okay, Jerome says, yeah, they're still doing that the first year. So cool. Awesome. So if you do that now, you can get a year for free. Unless you have something that's wildly, popular, and I think then you'll have to pay if a lot of people are downloading your stuff. But you can always worry about that when you get to it. And if enough people are downloading that stuff, it means you're selling a lot of it. So you're making money on the front end. So it's good. And I love the service, and it's you know, the Netflix outages notwithstanding, it's a very stable and robust system, and it works for me. So upload it to your host, whatever that happens to be, and I'll show you a really neat tool on that you can use. It's called S3, and it's free also, and it works really neat. It's called S3 Browser. Sorry, it may launch here. We'll see. um, Here it is. And basically, all you do is you use it like a Windows file system or a Mac file system. So whatever you want to put there, and they have different buckets and stuff and different subfolders and stuff. You have to kind of understand that, but it's really no more difficult than understanding Windows or Mac. And let's see. Well, to make things really simple, I'll just use the file that I just have, right? So I can just take this file and drag it in that window. It says uploading. It's already done uploading, and we're done. It's ready to sell now. Or at least it's on the host. So what do you do now? You need to let people know, right? And the way you can let people know is you can actually go back to your research part, your Evernote, and see where you found your information. And where you found your information is a good place where you can sell your information, right? So if people in a particular forum were really looking for an answer, and now you have the answer or what you think could be the answer, go back there. Now you got to be careful. You can't be spammy, and you can't look like you're selling a bunch of stuff, but you could make mention of the fact that I have a solution. If you're on a forum and you say, hey, I have a solution to your problem, private message me. And most forums have a kind of an email or a messaging system where other members can get a hold of you. And they'll get a hold of you, and you'll say, go to this link. You'll send them the link to your sales page, and they'll look at it, and they'll decide to buy or not, right? Of course, as we alluded to earlier, you can choose to sell or give away, right? Sorry about that. You can choose to sell it or give it away. It could be a squeeze page promotion. It could be just something like, what we're doing here, I wrote a sales page in the Warrior Forum for this. You didn't have to pay for it. If you read the sales page, you'll notice that, after this webinar today, I am gonna put a price on it, and I may do the webinar again, I may not, but I'll definitely have this webinar that I could send the replay to, and the neat thing about anybody who signs up through that is you're gonna get my ebook in a couple weeks. So if you got in for this free, you're gonna get the ebook for free. If you get in after this webinar is over and you pay the $7 or whatever, you'll get the ebook for $7 and the webinar. So anyway, yeah, thanks Jerome for putting that link to S3 browser in the chat box. So it's pretty simple. It's s3browser.com, and it's free. There is a paid version. I don't use that. I can't even tell you what the paid version gets you. So obviously, if this is something that you want to actively sell, say on the Warrior Forum or on your own, from your own website, you do have to write an email. You do have to write a sales letter. It doesn't have to be complicated though. You saw the sales letter I wrote for the Warrior Forum, the special offer. It wasn't complicated. It basically told you what I was going to tell you, and that's about it. You don't have to be hypey or salesy or anything like that. I mean, if you look at the Warrior Forum, you see a lot of really cool sales letters that look, whiz bang, stupendous, fabulous. People spend a lot of money and time, on getting those sales letters written, and they do help. I'm not going to lie, they do help in selling. It's just like that ebook cover, right? People buy based upon appearance, but there are also people on the Warrior Forum who put up drab sales pages like I did. I didn't put any graphics on there. And they sell because, number one, a lot of them have, the reputation of, hey, he's given us good information before. I'm not even going to read the sales letter. Where's the buy button? But for you, if you're just starting out, you don't need a whiz-bang sales page. Just tell people what you're going to tell them. That's it. So the next thing, and this might be a future webinar, I'm thinking it's a really good idea, and maybe you all can chime in on the chat or send me an email or what have you. Would you like to see how to write a Kindle ebook? Now, I'll tell you right now, it's basically the same process up until the very end. And there's another tool that you can use that helps you format. Well, I shouldn't say helps you format. It does format for you for the Kindle platform because Kindle it's its own little beast. It's definitely its own little beast, and there are formatting tricks and stuff that you could do to make it look better on a Kindle. For example, on the Kindle, and this is weird, but it just is. On the Kindle, every paragraph has to have an indent at the beginning. It's just weird. So this tool does that for you. Because I never write with paragraph indents anymore. I mean, I haven't done that since like 6th grade. So, and I don't remember it, and I don't think it looks good, but that's their format. So anyway, if you want to see that, and I'm seeing a few yes, definitely, that's great. I'll do that. I don't know when I'm going to do that, but I will do that because it looks very interesting, and I've done it a few times, but I'm a little rusty, so I'd like to go through that again. And then, sorry about that. So George, you asked a question. I heard two thoughts. Some say you should use a PDF and others say a doc. On the Kindle? Yeah, the tool, if memory serves me right, because it's been a few months since I did this, the tool wants you to use a doc. So the nice thing about LibreOffice is you can save your files as a .doc. So you can still, basically and I'll tell you what I'm going to do here. Like I said before, I like to reuse and repurpose my content. My thought right now, and we're at 4 o'clock, but my thought right now is that I'm going to write this ebook in Kindle, put it on the Kindle platform. Maybe make it free, maybe make it 99 cents. I basically want to use their, the big giant marketplace of Amazon to get, testimonials and social proof and stuff like that. Put it on there for a couple weeks until January 25th, where I can then basically either pull it down or basically change my agreement with Amazon, because there are two ways you can go, and one of the ways prohibits you from having the same electronic book in anywhere other than Amazon. So what I'll do is I'll change things up a bit, change that agreement so that I can have that ebook in two places and then, publish it elsewhere. So if memory serves me right, and I'll give you a preview of the tool that does this formatting of a doc to a Kindle. It's called Mobi Pocket, I believe. Mobi Pocket. Do a Google on that, and you'll find if I'm telling you the right thing. But I do believe it's called Mobi Pocket might be the free reader, and Mobi Pocket Creator is the one that formats. But they're both free. So you basically just load up your doc, press a couple buttons, and you're done. And it looks pretty good. So I will put that together for a future webinar. For now, I really, really want to thank you guys for showing up and for being an active audience. I see all the stuff in the chat box. Hopefully I've answered all of your questions. Oh, you're welcome, Jerry. Yeah, Jerry. So Jerome says it's mobypocket.com. If you can look in the chat box, you can see the whole URL there. Yeah, there you go. George is concurring. So yeah, that's the tool. That's the tool that I've used in the past, and it works really good. So thank you again for showing up. If you have any questions at all, you know how to get a hold of me, I hope. It's bill.davis@internet-marketing-muscle.com. And you can also find me on Facebook and Skype and all sorts of other places. I usually go under one of two, IDs. One is Bill Spaced, Billspaced, and the other is IMMUSCLE. So if you look me up on either of those two IDs anywhere, you're probably going to find me. All right. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you later. I'll get the replay out as soon as I can, and we'll talk to you next Friday, hopefully. Thanks a lot, guys.